Welcome to this week's episode of the Lido Loop. I am your host, Jack McCraw. With me, as always, my good friend, Jesse Barboza, who could be going to San Antonio this weekend. You excited about that?
Oh, yeah. Of course, the same group of people are always going with us. Me, Jack, and my brother, and, of course, my wife and kids are going, too.
Is there someone you're missing in that conversation, sir?
Who am I missing?
The gambling addict herself, Maddie, is going to be joining us, the number one fan.
I did hear that she was thinking about canceling because there was no casinos.
Yeah, she originally wanted to go to Dallas to be closer to the casinos in Oklahoma, but I think she'll settle for San Antonio. But knowing Maddie, she'll find a casino one way or another. But besides casinos, what else is on the show today, Jesse?
Yeah, so in cruise news, there was a death of a passenger at Celebration Key. The Carnival Cruise actually cancels some bookings. And Carnival actually has new menu items in their main dining room.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about those new menu items and certainly new things that we can try out next time we're on a cruise. Also, in theme park side of things, Disney has unveiled new animatronics featuring the Muppets for the brand new Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets that should be opening on May 26th. Disney has also announced that Epcot's Soarin Around the World will become Soarin' Across America and will have new American scenery to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. And we have brand new news about the new ride coming to Fiesta Texas here in 2027. And to wrap up the show, Jesse and I will talk about our top 3 favorite cruise lines or destinations that we would like to try at some point. And of course, my bucket list top 3 theme parks to go to in the future. That and much more on this week's episode of
The Lido Loop.
So like we do with every other show, we like to start off with the cruise news. And unfortunately, we do have to start off on a little bit of a somber note because a cruise passenger passed away over at Celebration Key. Jesse, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and for many people that's been watching us, y'all probably know that we don't really like to talk about a lot of the bad stuff at cruising because we like to keep it pretty positive here. But yeah, so a lady, it was an 88-year-old American woman. She died on May 9th of this year at Celebration Key after reporting losing control of her mobility scooter and driving off the pier while at the Carnival Celebration Key dock. The incident happened around midday during the final trip of a 7-day Caribbean cruise out of Miami. According to the Bahamian police, the woman's scooter went off the edge of the pier and she fell into the water. Investigators believe that she may have struck her head and hit the hull of the ship when she actually fell off. But I know we actually talked about this probably a few months ago. I don't know if you remember, Jack, when a kid fell off of that. You remember that?
Yeah, that was actually one of the first stories we ever reported on. And, it's certainly a sad thing that happened to this woman. Thoughts and prayers are definitely with her family at this time. But do you think that there needs to be better safety measures on the pier? Because you and I have been on that pier. Once you get to the main walkway, there's a lot of fences, there's ropes. It's hard to fall off of. Now, the fence isn't very high, so it's possible, but definitely better than once you get on the pier. It's just an open pier where people can easily fall off of.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you go to Cozumel or Costa Maya or any of the major cruise ports, as soon as you get off the pier, they at least got like a rope chain link so that you can't cross that easily. I've even seen some like Cozumel, they got like curbs where you can accidentally drive off of it too. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that I've been saying that Carnival definitely needs to change their policy or do something. I mean, it can't be that more expensive to add a chain link, fence or something. What do you think?
Yeah, and just when you dock the ship, when you put the ladders down to get off the ship to the pier, you just move the fence or have an opening there. It's very simple, and it's sad that such a easy preventative measure could have been added to the pier to prevent this woman from drowning and then other people from falling into the ocean.
I did hear some stories thinking that the lady may have had a medical emergency because, I mean, even an 88-year-old woman wouldn't just, like, purposely drive off the pier. And you still got a little bit of distance, unless she was driving like right on the edge of the pier until she went over. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know the whole story if the cruise was packed and she felt like the only spot she could drive was on the edge. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, and I guess we won't ever know. And it's just certainly a very sad story. But kind of transitioning over to another Carnival related story is that they actually canceled some of their bookings because of a glitch. You want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so a lot of times when Carnival does updates to their systems and all that, for some reason, I don't know why, I think people just look for these, but they have ridiculously priced stuff for bookings and excursions and all that. And that same thing happened. You were looking at, me and you were just looking at, what was the price of some of these bookings?
Yeah, I saw some of these bookings were as low as like $300 for a balcony, and this is for like a 6-day cruise. Normally, those are between $600 to $1,500 a person.
Oh yeah, at least definitely. You're right. Depending on, of course, the destination and the time of the year, but I would definitely go on a cruise for $300 and something dollars.
Yeah, especially if it's a 6-day one like that. I mean, you might convince me to go on a longer cruise because I mean, we even paid like a little over $400 for just a quick Celebration Key from Cape Canaveral cruise that we went on not too long ago. So $300. I mean, that's such a. I heard that I guess with the IT maintenance they just didn't change the price, but I kind of wish Carnival would have honored it. I completely understand why they didn't because they're still a business, they need to make money, but it was their mistake.
Yeah, apparently in the cruise contract that whenever you go and pay for the cruise you're agreeing to is that they can, if there is a price mistake, that they're allowed to opt out of the contract. So I'm guessing that's how they were able to. But I feel like that Carnival should have been like, hey, it's my bad. It would have been good publicity for them if they just said, we're going to let you get it for that price because it was our
or at
mistake.
least give them a discount on a drink package or an excursion or something.
I think they actually did. They actually ended up giving them $100 future cruise credit, which ain't bad. I mean,
that's $100 they didn't have before to use on a new cruise. So, I mean, and that is a decent way to, get repeat business. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I think Carnival should have just taken care of the customer. But they are taking care of the customer when it comes to their new menu items at their dining locations. Jesse, you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Carnival, they just finished their testing and they're now getting a new refreshed menu. So the newer test menus replace the Emerald Selects they're now changing it from Emerald Selects to Chef's Favorite Picks and Carnival Crew Favorites. The idea is making the menu feel more personal and crew driven instead of like celebrity chef branded. Me personally, I remember looking at the first like 3 or 4 cruises, and every time I saw the Emerald Selects, I thought, oh, that means they probably cost more. I don't know if you felt the same way when you saw it. Do you remember seeing that on the menu?
I mean, yeah, I vaguely do, but I don't think I ever really ordered the Emerald Selects, if I'm being honest with you. Did you?
Only one time, and that was probably the last cruise when I realized that it didn't cost extra. If it cost extra, they would actually include it on the bottom that this is an extra fee. But most of the items were probably a little bit too fancy for me. I feel like I know.
I think escargot might have been the fanciest that you've ever gone.
Hey, that was actually good. The escargot.
Yeah, it had a little bit of salt to that. I mean, the butter that they put on it was delicious.
But anyways, I definitely think that it's definitely good that they're kind of changing the menu up because let's face it. Sometimes if you've been on a cruise for 5 years, it's been the same items you've seen on the cruise ships. And the good news is they are keeping all the favorites like the Caesar salad stain. But some of the new items are going to be a Hawaiian shrimp poke bowls. They're having braised lamb. I don't know how to say that. Parpadelli.
I think that's how you say it.
Roasted duck rolls, grilled swordfish, Cornish game hen, lamb shark, tuna cradu, barbecue salmon, and coffee glazed duck breast. So some of these new items definitely sound good, I guess. But me personally, if I don't like anything on the menu, I always go to the steak. I think the steak's been pretty good.
The steak and chicken are the safe routes because every single night that they're going to have either steak or chicken. And, when I was younger, that's all I would order was those two. I mean, I feel like, as an adult, we've you can experiment a little bit more. We had frog's legs one time, and it wasn't great, but we could say that we had it and we tried it.
Yeah, my menu every day. I always get the Caesar salad. Didn't you always get a Caesar salad too, or something like that? Or what was your go-to?
It was also a Caesar salad. Like that's that's my favorite salad, but aside from Texas Roadhouse, that's Caesar salad on a Carnival cruise ship is the best Caesar salad there ever is. And I'm excited to try some of these new food items, and I like that they're also being very experimental and giving people more than just a few options. Because I understand when you're on a boat, you can only do so much, but they're trying to make Carnival a little bit more gourmet, especially with some of these options. So I think it would only help them, and then give people more of a choice to select at dinner, or you could just go to the buffet.
So that covers all of the cruise news. So in theme park news, Jack, I hear that Disney has some new animatronics coming.
Yes, and that is going to be for the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets, your favorite intellectual property to talk about at Disney. So they teased that there's going to be a Scooter animatronic. He's the guy who, gets the show all ready to go. And then they have some penguins running the soundboards, which, that's, kind of like how our show is. We have penguins running our soundboards and everything over here, too. And, of course, they have a video of Electric Mayhem playing until Beaker comes in there and blows up the whole scene. So hilarity is going to ensue when it comes to this new, Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. With all this Muppets talk, one, do you still think that Disney should have picked something else? Or two, does this get you any sort of hype to even want to try this ride?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier, but it's like, why would you go with something like the Muppets when I don't think anyone even watches the Muppets nowadays, do they?
I don't think the Muppets have been on TV in the last 10 years. I think they had a TV special not that long ago, but as far as a full-on sitcom, they did a little bit of revival after the movies came out, with Jason Segel and Amy Adams. I mean, the movies did well. I think the Muppets still have some sort of nostalgia to people who watched that show back in the 70s and 80s when the show came out. But it's definitely a dated property, and I think Disney only is utilizing it because they own it. But also, they closed down the Muppets land at Hollywood Studios, and maybe to appease the Muppet fans, they revamped the Rock and Roller Coaster to feature the Muppets just to kind of keep both people happy. Honestly, I think they should have just went with a different band. Or, I don't know, use Hannah Montana. They have the license to her music, or any sort of Disney radio star. Just switch them out. And then, of course, that new ride is going to be opening on May 26th. So it's almost time for you to hear that countdown one more time. Not by Steven Tyler, but probably by Animal instead. And another new ride that's going to have some updates is Soarin', not around the world, but across America at Epcot and Disney California Adventure, with the Epcot one also opening on May 26th, which will include brand new showcases of American landscapes. And of course, Patrick Warburton will be returning to be your flight attendant on this ride. So in the past, Jesse, Walt Disney was very patriotic. He loved celebrating America. So it's kind of cool to see Disney go back to this, celebrate America, especially on the 250th anniversary, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think anything that shows American, being proud of being American, I think that it's definitely good for business.
I mean, Disney is at the end of the day an American company, so it should be thankful for the country that it existed in. Number one, number two, the showcasing their pride, especially at places like Epcot where there is an American pavilion. I'm sure that's going to be packed on 4th of July, but it is nice to kind of Disney going back to its roots a little bit in a sense, and honoring what made this ride great was showcasing the best parts of America. And to wrap it all up, Jesse, we have a brand new tease for Six Flags Fiesta Texas' new upcoming 2027 attraction. Now, we've been talking about Fiesta Texas a lot. I understand not everyone listening lives in San Antonio. It's just they've been teasing the you-know-what out of this ride. So they keep breaking news, and the latest news is that they put a crate out with looks like a monster with red eyes that growls when you walk by. Now, to me, that seems kind of cool, and they're building this out to be something really big, Jesse, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, When's the last time they broke out all this stuff in order to introduce a new ride?
They did a little bit of teasing when it was with Dr. Diabolical when in 2022.
They also did with Batman, right?
They did. They had, you could call and then the Joker's voice would answer, and or you could, I think it was actually Commissioner Gordon saying Batman's coming, because the Joker was actually the Joker attraction. But with monsters, with darkness, it seems like Fiesta Texas is going to get a pretty significant addition, and especially because they had to not only tear 2 water rides down and level some of that area out in order to build what could be another amazing attraction for a park that really doesn't need any more major attractions. It's kind of more of a luxury at this point, don't you think, to have as many good rides as they do?
Oh, absolutely. Like me and Jack were just talking about Fiesta Texas, because we're of course going on a trip this coming Memorial Weekend. And we're just talking about how great the rides are there, and we were kind of comparing it to Six Flags Over Texas, and we kind of had almost a discussion about which one to go to, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a little bit of compare and contrast, and to be honest, Six Flags Fiesta Texas is the superior park in my opinion. Six Flags Over Texas is more nostalgic to me, just because I started going there after Astroworld closed, but I've also been going to Fiesta Texas for as long as I can remember as well, since I was in middle school. I think that was like your first ever theme park you went to actually was Fiesta Texas.
Yeah, with you actually.
Look at that. Now we're doing a podcast on it. So yeah, like Jesse said, this weekend, we will be heading out there on a business assignment, and we'll be sure to get some footage of the new area and the new,
props or
the
whatever.
the new props coming, and seeing what could be with that new attraction coming in 2027. And to wrap up the show, Jesse and I want to talk about our 3 bucket list, not only like cruising destinations or cruise ships we want to go on, but also bucket list 3 theme parks. So we'll go ahead and start on the cruise aspect. Jesse, go ahead and give me either your top 3 cruises you want to go on or just destinations you want to visit.
Yeah, so let's first start off. I would love to go on an Alaskan cruise. I feel like going on an Alaskan cruise is definitely a completely different experience than going to something tropical, like going to the Caribbean or the Bahamas. The only thing is, like, me personally, I love going with my kids, and I hear that the Alaskan experience is more like for adults only, because there's not a lot of stuff for the kids to do, because you're really not going to have any slides. First off, it's going to be too cold. So there's not as many things, so that's kind of been keeping me from going until here maybe a couple of years when my kids get 18 or 19, and I think it might be better. But it's definitely be kind of weird because you go in May and it's cold in May when you're normally in May or June.
When you leave for the
hot,
airport and have to go to Seattle or wherever you go out of your destination, you're going to have to pack like you're going on a winter trip to Canada instead. Because, like you said, Alaska is cold almost year round, except maybe parts of like late June, early July, August. And, I think that's a definite bucket list, like cruise destination, especially if you've never seen it. The glaciers have natural beauty. I think sometimes they go into different fjords and you see that beautiful mountain range. And of course you can see whales, which you're not really going to see that in the Caribbean. Caribbean has some great ports, don't get me wrong. And I think you can still have the drink package on Alaskan cruise, but I think it's more about the nature and beauty aspect rather than the party aspect of going to the Caribbean.
Yeah, after doing many research on this topic and all that, I have definitely come to the conclusion that when we do go to Alaska, I think we're going to be going on Princess Cruises, because I've heard that it's definitely has the best experience when it comes to cruising to Alaska.
Absolutely. And so what are some of your other destinations that you would like to visit?
So the next thing, I would just like to, it wouldn't be necessarily a destination, it'd be a cruise. I would definitely like to be on the Icon class on the Royal Caribbean. And I actually will be completing this next year, and next September of 2027, when Icon actually comes to Galveston. Because, who would not want to at least try the world's biggest cruise ship at least one time? I've seen many videos on it. I've definitely seen how big it is. it's definitely a big bucket list cruise for me. Even though we've been talking the past couple times about how a lot of the slides were shut down. I'm hoping that whenever I go, that they're all going to be open and my kids will be going down them and enjoying them. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be going down them too.
And also, I of course, yeah, me too. But also, I like the fact that Royal Caribbean isn't every room above like the main deck like a balcony, because you can have interior balconies and exterior balconies. So you do have a view pretty much of anywhere you go on the ship. And I'm sure there's still interior rooms in the lower levels, though.
Yeah, they still do. They do have balconies that face the Central Park area, and they also have balconies that face like the ocean. Me personally, if I'm gonna get in a balcony, I'm gonna want to face the ocean, not Central Park.
Yeah,
But
you can see people anywhere. Why would you want to have a balcony to see that?
exactly, I'd rather be staring at the ocean all day. Me personally, but that's definitely a bucket list, which I'm gonna be checking off for sure next 2027. We haven't officially booked it, but we should be booking it any day now, honestly.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I can't wait to hear not only the review of that, hopefully we can get some footage and, post it all over our socials as well, and encourage you all to try, an Icon class ship if you haven't already. And finally, you told me a little bit about this off air, but you actually have another international cruise that you wanted to go on as well, right?
Yeah, we've never done an international cruise where we have to travel outside the United States for the home port. It would definitely be, but I would love to visit Japan on a Japanese cruise. I hear that the culture is definitely completely different than us American. It'd definitely be a good cultural experience to see how they interact with people and how to talk to people. And I definitely seen many videos about how respectful Japanese people are and how great the country is. I don't know. What are some of your cruises that you might want to try?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the Alaskan cruise, because not only have I always wanted to go to Alaska, I can't imagine another instance where I ever would besides a cruise. And just seeing that natural beauty, I'm more of a mountain person. I do love the beach. I love going to all the Caribbean island destinations, but seeing mountains is something really special, and you kind of get a good blend of that on an Alaskan cruise. Other destinations, I have always wanted to see, the Dominican Republic, because I think that that's a beautiful, port to go on as well. I would, and Puerto Rico as well. And I know Carnival and other cruise lines do offer those cruise ships to Dominican and Puerto Rico. Those are two countries that I would want to visit. And as far as a cruise line, I think I might have to go on that Icon class ship with you, because, we've been on some big ships at Carnival, but then nothing compares to an Icon class ship.
Yeah, absolutely. One destination that I'm hoping will open up one day is I'm hoping that the whole political tension in Cuba would open up and we actually could visit Havana in Cuba. I don't know. What do you think? Would that something you probably be interested
I mean,
in?
Cuba is not exactly first on my bucket list to go on. I mean, if it becomes safe for Americans to visit, which I do believe that eventually they do want to open, to American tourists, considering it is just right there, 90 miles south of Miami. And I think if they do build a really nice cruise port, as long as you stay within the port, it's kind of the same in Mexico. Stay within the port and you'll be fine. And it could, I'm sure that they have beautiful beaches, and I'm sure that they can, give you a good time. But as far as, hoping, praying for it, not exactly. But if it becomes an option, I'll definitely take it.
All right. So in theme parks, what's some of your top theme parks that you would like to visit?
So I kind of want to do an honorable mention of Epcot, because I've been to Disney several times, but that's the one park that I have not been to. And the same with Epic Universe. So I think eventually I will go to those two parks, just because I've been to every other Universal and every other Disney park there is here in America. So that could be one, but I'll just omit those for right now. I would say my top three, in no particular order: Dollywood, simply just because it's in a beautiful part of the Smoky Mountains. It's rated one of the, most beautiful parks in America. And of course, they had some great rides. And I've always wanted to go to, that region, the Pigeon Forge area. So I would say Dollywood is up there. And then, of course, Cedar Point. They have 18 roller coasters: Steel Vengeance, Millennium Force, Top Thrill Dragster just reopened and is now the tallest coaster in America, now that King Dakota officially, bit the dust. And, it's in a kind of remote part of Ohio, but, you go to Cedar Point just for the thrills, the attractions, and then just the history, because it's always been the roller coaster capital of the world. And that seeing videos about that on YouTube when I was a little kid, it kind of inspired me to want to go to all these theme parks. I mean, heck, I remember when they were on like the Travel Channel and they had like the extreme rides. So Cedar Point's definitely on that list for me. And the third one,
It's got to be Knott's Berry Farm, is it?
yeah, I would say it's Knott's Berry Farm. And it's crazy because I did have the opportunity to go to it when I went to Anaheim about 2 years ago. But, we went to go to Disneyland instead. Gosh, darn us. But yeah, Knott's Berry Farm, it's such a classic amusement park because, it was, built based on, an old West mining town. It exploded into this, mega theme park with rides like Ghost Rider, Silver Bullet, Hang Time, and Accelerator. If you have a California vacation and you're going to Disneyland, it's so beneficial to try to go one day to Knott's Berry Farm just because it's significantly cheaper than Disney. Number two, and I think you still get a great theme park experience without the crowds of Disney. So, yeah, my top three, I would say Dollywood, Cedar Point, and Knott's Berry Farm. But now with their new Six Flags pass, if you get the premium pass, you can go to Cedar Point and Knott's Berry Farm, and you just can pick up your season pass from Fiesta Texas. How about that, Jesse?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that definitely sounds good. You definitely kind of hit the nail on the head for me with Cedar Point and Knott's Berry Farm. Those are two parks that we both haven't been to that I've heard great reviews of, and I definitely think that those are definitely bucket list parks for us.
Yeah, and I guess one more I kind of wanted to mention was Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. It's owned by the same people, the Hershey Company, who owns Dollywood, and they also have a beautiful park with some great rides like Outlaw Run, and that's also kind of like that touristy area of Missouri that people go to. I mean, heck, your mom and stepdad have a timeshare over there, so that's definitely worth a visit at some point. It's just the drive out there. The other parks, you visited the scenic destinations of California, the Smoky Mountains. I mean, not saying Ohio is a great scenic destination, but if you're going for Cedar Point, that'd be a great one. And I remember, there were talks of us going to an Astros game in Cleveland or Detroit and going to Cedar Point in between. So that would be a perfect vacation right there. But that'll do it for this week's episode. As always, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. Check out our Facebook page. We are the Lido Loop. We're posting more and more each week about hints of what we're going to be talking about throughout the week. And of course, our YouTube channel, just type in the Lido Loop. And as always, I'm Jack, that's Jesse, and we will see you
On the Lido deck.
or at Knott's Berry Farms riding Hang Time.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lido Loop. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time we post more content.